Hi everyone. It's been a while. I have a nice luxurious beard and nice short hair. So I haven't made a video for a while. I think partly because of everything that's been going on. And there's a lot of things that have been going on. Obviously, part of my whole deal was that I have been trying to find work and trying to find, try and put my life together and stuff like that. And I've been trying to push through with that as part of what I'm doing, but I have to, I've been a little bit dishonest about something and it's kind of important. And I feel I need to kind of talk to you about it. And it's not something that, it's not something that I'm, not ashamed of. But it's something that I needed to really take into account before I started doing the series that I'm doing. I am a Christian. 30 years ago, I was a street kid, a drug addict, and I had an encounter with God when I was in a refuge in my bedroom, and I gave my life to Christ and chose to follow him with mediocre success, unfortunately, because I've been up and down. I've struggled in my faith. I've backslidden. I haven't been the most consistent Christian in the world. And even during the time when I started doing these videos, I was I was in a place where I had had a lot of stuff that had happened to me, and I think I was just kind of jumping out, trying to grab hold of something and trying to make something happen. And obviously, with everything that's been going on with the COVID-19, which I'm not going to get into too much, but I have serious doubts about a lot of the information that we're being given. There's a lot of doctors who are starting to come out and basically saying it's not quite as bad as people are making out it is, but that's not the video for this. But I realised something, that right now the world is in a panic. I remember the first week really that the lockdown started, even before the lockdown started, and people just started buying. We went to go and get toilet paper, and everyone else had the same problem: no toilet paper. I don't know what they're going to do with so much toilet paper. In fact, there was a story recently of a man in South Australia who brought well over 10, I think it was 10,000 rolls of toilet paper or some ridiculous amount from a store, and just tried to return all of those rolls recently, and basically the storekeeper told him to go away very nicely. People have been panicking and making silly decisions. But the one thing that this has shown, or not showing me, I already knew it, but confirmed to me, is this: people are fundamentally bad. Now, I know a lot of people out there hearing this won't like to hear that, but it's true. Look at what happened. The second people thought things were going south, what did they do? They started hoarding. There were fights in shops, because fundamentally, people, we're in a civilization now that is, I hate to say this, but I think that our civilization, our Western, what they call the Western experiment, our Western civilization is drawing to a close. Once upon a time in I know in Australia, and I'm sure in other Western countries, during times of crisis. People would band together, they would pull together. There was mateship, there was, looking after your neighbour and things like that. Well, that doesn't exist anymore. And it just confirmed for me something when all this started to happen, that, instead of me talking to you about me going out there trying to get my goals and trying to make everything happen, no, I need to talk to you about Jesus Christ. A lot of you are going to maybe turn off this video at this point, and that's fine. That's your choice. But here's the facts. This COVID-19 has allowed a greater authoritarian move by the government to take place around the world. Never happened like this before. We've had SARS, we've had swine flu, which actually killed more people or has been more devastating. We've had pandemics before, and the usual way that things are done is that the sick are quarantined whilst the healthy go on doing what they're doing. It didn't happen this time. And there's been a lot of deaths in the US that have been attributed to COVID, which have now been found that they weren't actually COVID. There was what they call comorbidity, which means that there were a lot of factors in the death, and COVID-19 may or may not have been one of those factors. And doctors have been told, pretty much have been given guidelines that they are to report deaths, even if they don't know what the cause of death was, even if they don't even know if these people had coronavirus. They've been told that they have to report that the death was due to COVID-19. Now, why would they do that? Well, it's pretty simple. My belief is that governments right now are taking advantage of this time. They're taking advantage of this time to clamp down and to exhibit a greater authoritarian stance and to get people ready for what's to come. The scriptures, the Bible talks about a time where there will be a man, what they call the man of perdition, or as is more popularly known as the Antichrist. And he will, in time, bring in a mark which will cause all men, it says both great and small, to buy and sell. And if you don't have that mark, you will not be able to buy and sell. The authoritarian stances has been taken by governments because of this outbreak. And this is in the opinion of medical experts, all right? In fact, there's three I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but right now there are three doctors who are pushing for this Dr. Fauci in the US to be arrested, to actually be arrested because of the misinformation. There are links with Dr. Fauci and the World Health Organization. I'm not here today to bring you information show and show you all the sources, but there are plenty of sources on it. You use Google. You've got access to Google. I've got access to Google. Now, am I saying that COVID-19 doesn't exist? Sure, it exists. It absolutely exists. There are people who are dying of it. But funnily enough, we have always had coronavirus with us, even before this COVID-19 outbreak. There is a way of controlling people. There is something called the Hegelian dialectic, and essentially Hegel was I think German philosopher, I think in the 1800s. I'm not 100% sure on that. But he created what's called the Hegelian dialectic, which basically it's called thesis, antithesis, and then you get synthesis. And what that basically means is that if there's a thesis, there's something you want to achieve, and there's something that's against it, what you do is you create this situation where you're creating a synthesis between the two. All right. To give you an example, using this example, the COVID-19, all right, there is a great deal of anxiety and fear. The thesis is that the government want more authoritarian control over the people. This is just historical fact. Every time that there is a government, every time a government gets more power, they want more and more power. They want to assert more and more power over the populace. That is a historical fact that has always happened historically. Always. You look at every major civilization that exists on planet Earth, from ancient Mesopotamia, Babylon, Assyria, right through, you'll find that this has always existed, that governments have always grown larger and always sought more control over the populace that they are over. This is no different. All right, government wants control. This is part of why, welfare exists, because the government want people to be dependent upon them. They want to have the control. And we've seen that fleshed out in the 20th century. We've had the Russian experiment. We've still got China. We've Venezuela. We've got all these different places where government have taken more and more control and more authority over people. I mean, more people. Was it something like 20 million people were slaughtered by despotic, fascistic governments who, in the name of utilising the principles of communism, took over these countries, and basically the man on the street became the pleb to the government. Now, we like to think in the West that we're above all of that, but the reality is we're not. And why are we not? Well, as I alluded to when talking about the beginning of the COVID-19 crisis, human nature. Human nature will always seek to dominate over others. It's called the sinful nature. And I don't make any apologies for that. Now, I've spent all this time making these videos about, focusing and goals and everything else like that. You know what? I'm sorry, because I was wrong. What I should have been making videos about was the fact that you need salvation. If you are not a Christian, then you are on the wrong side of what is about to come. And coming back very briefly to, the Antichrist. The Antichrist is coming. He's going to set up this one world system. And I think what's happening with the COVID-19 thing, and mind you, there has been a plan for a long time by a lot of very highly connected people. Yes, there is a cabal. And in fact, they admitted it. John D. Rockefeller Jr. wrote a book. And in that book, he admits it. He said, I've been accused of being part of a secret cabal. And he says, and I admit it. It's true. I'm guilty. Because these are people who think that they are greater than you. They are wiser than you, they're more intelligent than you, and therefore they have the right to basically dictate how you should live. And we see that attitude coming across with Bill Gates, with the immunisation he's talking about, and the digital identity that he wants to put into that. Now, this is why I wanted to talk to you, because he's talking about this. It's called ID 2020, and it is the foundation of this thing that I was talking about, the mark of the beast. Digital signatures, whether it's a chip or whatever it is. I don't know how the format it's going to take. I simply know that it's coming. And it is some people think it's, no, it's a metaphor for, you're not worshipping God, you're worshipping this beast. Well, it's not a metaphor at all, because it says, without this mark, you can't buy or sell, which means it's a physical, there's something about this mark which separates you from someone who doesn't have it, so that the person who does have it can actually buy something. So it is physical. There is a physicality to it. Whatever manifestation it comes in, I don't know. But I think what's happened with this COVID thing is a dry run, and I think it's meant to be a soft close. I used to be in selling. I used to do sales, and in sales, there was the thing, always be closing. Always, you present ideas and get people used to these ideas, so they start to adopt it, so that it's going to be a lot easier to close them. There's less resistance. Well, it's the same thing here. There is a time coming, and if you're a Christian, I'm telling you now that this is the time. This is the start of, if you're looking for a rapture to beam you up and beam you out of this place, I'm sorry, but there is a rapture coming. I believe in the rapture, but it's not coming without persecution first against the church. And Thessalonians is pretty clear, the day of God's wrath. The day when, in fact, Paul was talking about, the day that he's talking about is the day when Christians are going to be out of here. Right? There will be a rapture, but first there will be a great falling away, and the man of perdition will be revealed. I'm not going to go too much into it, but hey, how do you have a great falling away without the church being here? If the church has been raptured out, then there can't be a great falling away, can there? No. There has to be the church here in order for there to be a great falling away. So you need to get ready for what's coming. And if you're not a Christian, now for you, it may be a very scary time, and I understand that. But the reality is, you're probably going to try and take the easy road, the path of least resistance. And I don't, to a certain degree, I don't blame you, because if you're not a Christian, if you don't understand the truth of the gospel, you don't really understand what all of this means. And I'm going to make it really, really clear so that you understand. This mark of the beast is coming, and you will have to take it. If you don't take it, then you're going to starve, basically. So you're going to be put into a position where you have to take it. But here's the flip side of that. If you take this mark, you will be forever separated from God, and there will be no opportunity for you to come to repentance. And God doesn't want that. I don't want that for you. You see, Jesus Christ came, this whole situation has exposed the sinful nature of mankind and what they will do when the chips are down. When the chips are down, people will not do the right thing, and they will not, be nice to their neighbour, and they will not, they will put themselves first. And if you come for them, they will point a loaded gun in your face and blow you to smithereens. That's what they'll do. If they don't have a gun, they'll find something else, but they will fight you. It's called selfishness. People call it survival of the fittest. People call it self-preservation. According to God, we are to love one another. It means that we are to lay our lives down for one another. But if you don't have Christ, then that's not in you. Why? Because your sinful nature is still there, alive and kicking. Christ came not just to give you a free pass into heaven. He came to destroy that sinful nature that wars against God, to give you a nature of love, to give you a nature of joy and peace and hope. And it doesn't mean that, if you come into this place of knowing Christ that everything's going to just be a garden of roses, because it's not. It's a really difficult life. But one thing I will say, both to Christians and to non-Christians, see, as Christians, we are meant to be people who are looking for the resurrection, right? The resurrection from the dead. That's where our focus is meant to be as Christians. And see, we have that hope as Christians. We have that hope. But if you don't know Christ, you don't have that hope. Your destiny, if you die without Jesus Christ, your destiny is eternal separation from God. Now think of this. Now, God is the source of all light, of all love, of all hope, of all joy. If you are eternally separated from him, you are separated from all of that. That's what hell is. Yes, I believe that there is a specific place that was meant for the devil and the angels. It wasn't meant for us. But we've chosen to live our life separated from God. We've rejected God. And in the West, we have rejected God. And I believe now, with everything that's going on, we are reaping from what we have sown. We have sown. You and me. Not God. God warned us. He said, don't do this. If you do this, if you reject me as being God, if you reject me as the creator, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you over to yourselves, right? He's in other words, he's saying, you don't want me, that's fine. You don't have to have me. I will let you go your own merry way. And unfortunately, that means that you're going to have to put up with whatever consequences that brings. And we've done that in the West. We've rejected God. We've rejected Jesus Christ. And now we're starting to reap from what we have sown. And I know this isn't a popular video. It's not meant to be a popular video. It's just meant to be the truth. And you say, well, that's your truth. And I'm sorry, but it's rubbish. My truth. No. There's no my truth or your truth, or there's just the truth. And there's your opinion of the truth, and either your opinion lines up with the truth or it doesn't line up with the truth. But either way, there's not your truth and my truth. That's a postmodern way of looking at things, and it's completely flawed, and it's completely why we're in the mess that we are now. My last word. I will make videos. I'm going to continue to make videos like this. Not like I have been making, but like this. But my last word to you is this. If you are apart from Jesus Christ today, if you are not a believer, I'm not asking you to take me at my word. I'm asking you to at least investigate the claims of Christ and investigate Christianity and investigate what we believe and investigate whether or not you truly believe that this is a thing. Right? That this is a real thing. Because I know it is. Like, no one can convince me that Jesus Christ is not a real and not alive. I've had an encounter with God. I'm not going to talk about what it is. But I know that he is more real than the sky is blue. And I will not be convinced otherwise, because I've seen things, not just him. I've seen other things as well. I've seen things that it did make my hair grow white. I mean, I'm 47 years old and I look like I'm 60, you know. I've seen strange things that are supernatural and things that can only be explained by the worldview of Christianity. So I'm going to leave you with that. My desire for you is that you will come to know Christ, because there is a day when we will all die. Every single one of us. And when we do, we will go and we will meet the one who created us, the one who made us, the one who laid down his life for us and died for us, so that we could not only be saved from the wrath that is to come, but so that we could also be freed from the sin which causes us to do strange and crazy things when there's pandemics on. God bless you. Please stay safe and reach out to Christ. Bye now.